I've quickly come to the realization that at 28 years old, the odds of ever having the opportunity to introduce somebody that has the achievements of Wes Buchele in my lifetime again is probably pretty low. I don't need to stand up here and speak a lot about the achievements of Wes Buchele. I don't need to speak a lot about his biography. Some of the comments on the screen here comes nowhere near reflecting the contribution that Wes has had to today's American farmer. Wes sent me a copy of his biography to use for his introduction, and unless he wanted to hear me speak for about 6 hours as an introduction, I just decided to leave it in my bag. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please help me in welcoming Dr. Wes Buchele, retired from the great Iowa State University.
Thank you, Jacob. It's a thrill to be here. I'm overwhelmed to see all of these tractors that have been created by people of your mind. You must be overwhelmed too to see the development of the tractors. In the teens, it looks like they couldn't make them smaller. The only thing they wanted to do was make them larger. And so we are changed to that. And of course, we know what happened when Henry Ford started building the Ford tractor. The big tractors went out of style, and now we're growing them up again. And so it's a thrill to be here and so forth. I'd like to introduce Dr. Marley. You stand up, Dr. Marley. He's my designated driver now. And now I'd like to have the students, the engineers that are here that went to Iowa State University and were influenced by Dr. Marley or myself, stand up. I want to see what is the original. And Steve, you can stand up and look at and see. There's people waving at us and so forth back there. So it's a thrill to see you here, folks here again. The other thing is that I learned long ago if I give a talk to bring my own audience, my cheering section. And so I invited some giants in the farm machinery industry to come here tonight and be with me. And I'd like to have various people like Ron Brass. Please stand up. Ron Brass, he's the inventor of the Maxi-Merge planter. The Maxi-Merge planter is the most important machine on the farm. If you don't plant it, you can't get it planted, you don't harvest. And so people thought combines were the important, but it isn't. It's the planter. And I estimate that his planters plant 1 billion acres of soil each year. Congratulations. Congratulations. And I might say that Ron will be inducted into as a fellow in the agricultural engineers this summer at the national meeting. And congratulations to you. Another giant that is here tonight is Ron Leonard. Ron, stand up. I'm not as tall as he is. Ron and I have had a long association together. He was my grad student at Michigan State, and he designed and built and tested a cucumber harvester. And we may see that tonight if we work at it hard enough. And so it's a thrill to be here among students, and I thank Dr. Marley for bringing me up this evening. And I have a daughter here, if she's around here yet, Mary Beth. And Mary Beth was graduated in journalism, but she eventually gravitated and went back to school and took a degree in homeopathy. So she practices as a homeopath in Wisconsin, in Minnesota, and in Ames, Iowa. And so right now we're building a new house together in Ames, Iowa. And so she's out here tonight to learn a little bit more about my profession that she has. Now, what I'd like to do is go through some set of slides that I put together. I worked on the Model R tractor. Actually, I should say I worked in 1942 on materials engineering and before the war, and then I came back to John Deere after the war and was over here 2.5 years. And I did some of the final design work on the Model R tractor, and worked on the oiling system and on the throttle system and on the starting system. After leaving Waterloo after the war, I worked with Merlin Hanson and Wayne Worthington as a student engineer and as a junior engineer, and went down to Arkansas. I wanted to learn a little bit about cotton mechanization, and so I went down there to get a master's degree. And And so, first thing I did when I went to Arkansas is I worked on cotton mechanization, and one of the things we was trying to do is introducing the cotton picker. And in order to take care of the cotton plant produces bolls for about 3 months. And the first bolls are on the bottom, and they lay down, they're on long limbs, and they lay down, and so the idea was to fold the plant, and then what we wanted to do is get the plants defoliated so we could pick them, and so I worked on that. Okay, then this records the condition of mechanization of the farm. The Rosenthals up in Minnesota were introducing a corn harvesting system. And so here is their picker in 1951. And they went through the field and they picked the corn and they cut it into silage. And there's an outline of it there. And the ear corn went up here and the silage went there. And here it is out in the field working. And then pretty quick they made a sheller, harvester shellers, mini Moline particularly, and that was the next thing. So this is the Rosenthal, and J.I. Case built this machine and started manufacturing it. And when I went from Arkansas up to Iowa State, the first thing that happened was that when I went in to see Professor E.V. Collins, he gave me a job. And the job was that I want you to invent a new harvesting system, a new threshing and separating system for harvesting red clover. Now, any of you that have harvested red clover, you know that's from 20% to 35, 40% efficient. Lose a lot of seed. And so he gave me that job immediately after I came into the door on working for my PhD. And so I began working on that. And I tried several different ways and found out that I needed to work on an idea that I observed when I was a child. When I whirled a milk bucket, it's a frustum of a cone, that the water went up the side of the bucket as you whirled it. And I thought that was a neat way of getting the straw out of a sieve. And so what I did was, this is the first rotary threshing cylinder. And here's your your physics of this. As this goes along, there is a component in this direction, up here, the opposite direction, and that's what forces the seed out the end of the cone. And so I had a way of doing that. And so this is Bill Lawler. He came over from Ireland and he built a cone thresher. And on the first test of that cone thresher, he threshed 99% threshing and 95% separation on the first test. And went on and patented this. J.I. Case engineers wanted to look at it in 1963 or something like that. And I sent them a patent without the claims. And after working with them for a few years, I decided to ask them to license it and pay a royalty, and they dropped me like a hot potato. And I never heard from them again, but when International Harvester came out with their machine in 1977, they said they had been working on it for 17 years. So I calculate that while they dropped me, they did not drop the work working on the harvester. And what happened was that it took a route. Lloyd Johnson came to Michigan State and he was looking for ways of engineering the harvesting and rice in the Philippines. And he also wanted new power systems. And so I took him down and showed him the cone thresher that I was building, Bill Lawler. And also I was building tandem tractors. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But anyhow, he went to the Philippines and he built 2 cone threshers in the Philippines and started the rotary threshing work in Southeast Asia. And he built 2 of them. They weren't particularly successful, and Amir Khan replaced him at the Philippines as Lloyd Johnson went to Colombia, South America, to start a new international research organization run by Henry Ford and Rockefeller Foundations. And Amir Khan came in. He's from Pakistan, and he didn't understand the properties of a cone, and so he built a cylinder type thresher. And I don't have a picture of that, but all combines built in the United States now follows his design of a cone. But in China, they looked at my patents, and they built a cone, and this is still a cone. It's fed here, and then this is the small end of the cone. The cone goes up like this and across like this, and the straw is thrown out, and the grain comes down there. And that's a kind of like what is built in the United States today, but they put directional louvers in there. And my guess is that those directional louvers, which are not needed in a cone, increase the power consumption materially, maybe even half again as much power needed to thresh as needed. And so I'm kind of going on a venture trying to convince industry they should build a cone, and I know how to do it. I've analyzed it, and I've written a paper on it, and I'm ready to publish that paper on a cone again.